Welcome to the new episode of All That Jazz, and welcome Dani Mansfield to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. I'm so grateful to be here.
I love the background. This is new as well. It looks like it's genuine green stuff, but is it or is it not?
It's not. It's one of those walls that you put together to make it like beautiful and green.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So let's start with your story, because I'm always interested how people get where they're at, and you have a very unusual upbringing.
I do. So I was raised essentially on a 14-meter sailboat. I went on board when I was about 6 years old, and we sailed around the world with my family. I have two sisters, one older and one younger, and we sailed around the world over many years.
Wow. So, and this started when you were like what 10 years old or younger?
So my parents are entrepreneurs. They had an equestrian business,
Right.
In the UK. I'm from the UK, but they found that they had built this business up, but they found that they were working 7 days a week and not spending enough time with the family. So they decided to sell the company and sell the home in the UK to buy a sailboat and go on a long family adventure. They really wanted to show us the world. They wanted to see the world themselves.
Yeah. How old were you when this all started?
So I went on the boat when I was about 7 years old. I was about 6.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's so like that's the usually first grade, isn't it? Like ish around there.
Right. So I was homeschooled.
Probably for the but well, I mean, now it's a lot better if you homeschool, I think, but I could be wrong. But then it was very unusual, especially in Britain, right?
My parents tell me that when they had told the teachers that they wanted to take all 3 girls out of the school, especially the geography teacher was the one that was the least positive about it. The majority of the teachers were okay, right?
Right. Wow. She was like, how dare you take your child out of the school and go in the world where she's gonna learn geography on her own. How dare you?
I am the one teacher as well. To see the world, you have a chance. And so they got a lot of very mixed reviews. And we did something called a Mercer's College. So basically, we work with the schooling system. They send us about 3 months worth of work. And as we're sailing, we complete it, and then we send it back to them, and they check the grades and send us the results. So every 3 months, we kind of had to figure out where we would be. They should be sending the paperwork, and then we would be returning it.
So, and did you find that to be time consuming?
So I didn't have so much of a time frame to complete it. Yes, we had to complete a certain amount of work in the 3 months, but I would be up on deck, and I wanted to finish the school work as soon as possible. So I would probably finish the 3 months worth of schoolwork in a period of 1 month, so that I could enjoy the rest of my time.
Wow, that sounds amazing, especially for a kid to have more free time and to be able to enjoy rather than be stuck in books. Like I know in Asia they like do schoolwork and in school more than 12 hours each day, especially 6 days a week. Right. It's crazy. Crazy.
I thought like that, but my dad would then make me do watches. So for example, just me and my older sister, she's a couple of years older than me. I started doing my own watches when I was 9 years old. So we would every 2 hours, my mom would have a watch, my dad would have a watch, my older sister would have a watch, and then I would have a watch. So every 8 hours we would be on watch again. So I started doing my own night watches. So my time to be up on deck would be from 12 a.m. till 2 a.m. Just kind of making sure that we're sailing straight, we're going in the right direction, and no ships or no boats are gonna come and crash. We're not in collision with anything else. So
because it's so it'd be very dangerous if you didn't do any night shifts, if you just like the boat would just go on its own. And
you're right, you can't do that. You always have to be.
Okay, right. Because how often would it happen that you during a night shift you'd see something in the sea and be like, oh, I need to wake my dad up, or
So particularly sailing the Red Sea, we would be on collision with, I would say, at least 2 ships per night, to the point where we would have to, wake my dad up. If we could not get in contact with the ship ourselves via VHF radio, or another, this is a memory that's kind of coming in. My mom, the one time we were in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and my mom, the one time we don't have the engine on, we're sailing towards the wind, so we're using the wind to get where we are, and the wind kept changing. So the one time she had managed to, we go 10 knots off course, we go 10 degrees off course farther, and she managed to completely flip the boat around, and we were traveling back the opposite direction. We didn't realize until the next morning. So there was always something going on.
Right. And how do you entertainment, like, do you play a lot of Monopoly? Like, what goes on?
Puzzles. We had puzzles, the Duco, the ones in the old books that we would fill out. My parents would buy us those. We did have one of the very old computers. So this was in 2000. We started sailing in 96. We completed our first race across the Atlantic Ocean. And we had one of those big old computers, and we had one game that was on the computer that we could play, but we would have movies we would watch. We had a little DVD player, so we could watch movies. And the rest of the time we were really on deck. There was always something to do. We would always see wildlife every day, whether that's, playing with dolphins at the front of the very bow, where we would just be, watching dolphins, or there always would be whales or sharks or something. There was always something exciting every day. We had something exciting to see.
But I imagine the electricity wasn't abundant on a small boat. So how was that? Like, was it there? Did you guys have solar panels on the boat?
Yes. Yeah, well, it was a liveaboard boat. My parents essentially made it a liveaboard boat. So we had like a water maker, we had the fridge, and the solar panels would charge up the batteries. Wow.
So, but there was a limit, like as far as like how many like how much you could use your computer?
We would only have the computer on when the engine was running, and we would try to have very limited engine use, especially if we're doing a long passage.
Right. Okay, that makes sense, because obviously during the night it would be like off limits. You can't
right. And we would have, that's when I was on watch, I found that one of the things that kind of kept me up for those 2 hours was on my little DVD player, was to put kind of like a horror movie on, or an action movie or something that would make me feel a little intense, so that I could checking that we're okay. And, it kept me going for the 2 hours. It kept me up and awake and aware for the 2 hours.
By the way, do you hear any music, or is it not disturbing? I'm hearing something. No?
No, I don't.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. So you were on the boat from age 7, and this is normal for you, doing night watches every night. And but then you must do you go to like different countries you stock up, like the South America or wherever you were traveling, you need to stock up every once in a while, right?
Right. So only we would do the large stock up when we're doing a sale that was maybe more than a week, right? A week,
Okay.
2 weeks, 3 weeks. So the bigger oceans. So we had access to food in obviously in most ports, but right before a big crossing, so we would stock up in, say, Panama before we go to the Galapagos or before we go to the Marquise Islands and travel across the Pacific. We would do a big stock up, but we would fish every day. So we would catch our food. Every day we'd be fishing. So we would we would really eat fish a lot. Selfish.
Wow. So did you like fish? Because some people are like, I don't like fish.
So I remember when we were in the Mediterranean, every time we went ashore, my parents would give us like octopus or shrimp, or like, it was always seafood. And I love fish, but I got tired of like shrimp and other seafood. So I don't try to eat that in my normal day life because it takes me back to those memories of when I was always eating it.
So do you like to eat like now, like you could just go, I want to have a pizza or a burger or lasagna, like something like that?
Well, I mean, occasionally.
Right.
Yeah.
But you try to eat healthy now, I imagine.
Try to eat as healthy as I can.
Okay, so what's your routine now for eating? Like what do you try to avoid? What do you try to incorporate?
So I mean, I try to eat fish. I do eat fish and vegetables and salad. I try to eat less meat. I'm very conscious of where it's coming from, and so if I know it's come from a more of a conscious place, I should say, even though it's really not. I try to bring awareness to, even where the eggs, are they coming from hens in my back garden, or are they coming from factory? It's just, but I try to eat more seafood rather than meats, but always vegetables, salads.
Right. Do you think if you bless your food that it helps the energy vibration, let's say, of the food?
100%.
Nice.
Same as water. You drink water, and setting your intention is absolutely everything. Before I drink this, may it just replenish and restore every cell living in my body. May it bring me that love, bring me that wholeness, the health, and just nourish my system. It's the same with food. Intention is everything.
Talking about water, I think I'm drinking a lot of tea lately. I've been drinking like lots and lots of green tea, and I don't know, maybe that's too much. If you drink, let's say, okay, might be a bit of a problem. There's days where I probably drink more than 6 or 8 cups of green tea. Like cups meaning this cup, Yeah. Do you think that's a problem?
I mean, I don't think you can have too much tea, but I think that if it's something that is on your mind, or your intuition is saying, oh, I'm having too much tea today, you should follow that thought.
Right.
Energy follows thought.
Yeah, okay. So, but if you think it's gonna be good for you, like, is it possible that if you think gummy bears are good for you and you eat a lot of gummy bears, that they actually end up being good for you?
No.
Damn it.
I don't think so.
Okay, that's not how it works. Okay.
Your mind is going to react different to your body.
Oh, how was it with candy on the boats? Was like
it was a luxury for us. It was a treat. Our candy would be like shredded coconut or something. Yeah, just like natural sugars.
Did you ever barter, like when a boat went by, where you're like, do you guys have any rice? And you're like, barter, and then you throw him a rice and he throws you beans or something like that.
So I do have a very interesting story to tell you. So we were sailing up the Red Sea. We were off Yemen.
Yeah.
And this is a place that's very well known for pirates. So when we sailed around the world, with about 20 other boats. So it was called the Blue Water Around the World Rally.
Right.
And the other boats would be maybe a day in front of us, or maybe 7 days in front of us, or maybe 7 hours in front of us. So at 6 p.m. every single night, all the boats would come on the radio, and we'd all tell each other the position, so that if ever we were in trouble, or if ever, we had a problem with pirates, then we could go on the radio and we would know who was the closest person that could come to our rescue. So when we were off Yemen, there's a couple of little islands that I can't remember what they're called now. But one of the boats that we were traveling with had engine problems. So there were 3 of us together, and we had to anchor off an island to try and fix help him fix his engine. So we pull into this island at 10 o'clock at night, and we all wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning with 20 people on the beach shooting machine guns at us. And of course, we're just like, what do we do? We can't leave. They'll shoot us and most likely kill us.
Actual like bullets? Like, did you find any holes in the boat?
Yeah, no.
Oh.
They were shooting.
They were not that accurate.
So, they were trying to get our attention, right?
Oh, right,
so
right.
My parents, we have 3 girls. We are all very, very blonde, very young. And my dad's, his worst fear, as any father would be, is, your daughter's taken away from you, especially in these islands. So he would make us dress up as boys. So we would put our hair up, we would have a cap on, we would have loose baggy clothing. And my dad had a choice. He has to go ashore with one of us, and he can't go ashore and leave the 3 girls on the boat. So he has to leave mom there. So he decided to take my older sister, who I think was about 12 at this time, in the dinghy, and we had to go ashore. And it just turns out they just wanted food. They just wanted rice and canned beans and canned tuna, or whatever it was that we had. Did
they buy it, or they're just like, oh, give me, or otherwise we kill you?
Right, in that situation, my dad was like, let's get as much food as we can in the dinghy, give it to them, and let's get out of here as fast as we can.
What's a dinghy?
So it's a little kind of rubber boat that you fold up, you blow up, and that's how we go ashore.
Right. Gotcha. So but back to my question, it would be something, maybe it's not courtesy to do that, and if you're in a boat and ask the other boat, hey, you guys have any toilet paper? We're kind of running low. That's not something you do, like barter? Like, I'll give you some rice for toilet paper.
Right. I mean, we do what we can. So if there's something, one of our friends are running short on something, and we can help them,
right,
or vice versa. We were there as family. We were traveling the world with them as they were our family.
So were you scared at any point for your life, maybe at the Red Sea Yemen situation?
So there was always a crazy adventure happening. There was always something a little out there happening every single day. So my first time on the boat, we were sailing, we bought the boat in Ipswich, and we had to sail down to Gibraltar. And we hit a very big storm. It was a force 10 storm. My mom couldn't swim. My parents don't know how to sail a boat.
Right.
So they had someone come on board to teach us that very first crossing. So on that very first trip, we went through the Bay of Biscay, which is very well known for its weather. And we were caught up in a force 10 storm. So the waves were bigger than our mast. We were on a 45-foot boat, a very small boat, but the waves were very big. So my parents locked me downstairs, and I was just kind of looking out of the window. I was kind of excited. I didn't really know what was going on. My parents were panicking, and we were going so fast down these massive waves that all you can do is put the engine in reverse and just keep going in the direction. I mean, there's just nothing you can do until the sea calms down. And so that was my very first experience.
Can I ask you why reverse? Why reverse?
Because you go too fast, and your bow can go into the ocean, and your boat can flip over. Worst case scenario. So we have been with a number of the friends that we traveled with. We've had our friends, their boats have sank in the middle of the night, and they've had to go on a rescue, and we've had to help with their rescue missions. Or we found a boat in the middle of an ocean, and we've had to help tow them somewhere. And so these are all the experiences, but that was just my first trip.
Wow. So you were lucky that the boat never sank on you guys.
On our first trip. Yeah.
Can you imagine like the trauma that, like, as a child? I was 8 years old, and I was on a boat that me and my parents lived in, and all of a sudden that night there was a bad storm, and I almost drowned.
Right. And for me, I was just, very excited. I'm going out of school. I've never been on a boat before. I don't really know what's happening. It's very exciting as a child, because you're in a completely new environment, and it's just, and you're not sat in a classroom at school.
Wait, you were in school for a little bit then, at some point?
Before the boat. I went to primary school.
Oh, yes. Okay. So they took you out of first grade or second grade? They took you out.
So when we were in primary school, you're in primary school from the age of 4 to 9. So I couldn't tell you if it's first or second grade. I could only tell you the age that I was. Yeah.
Okay. So then obviously there's, as you're growing up on a boat, there's no, you're watching these movies, maybe seeing some chick flicks or whatnot, but there's no boys obviously on, because maybe you see someone at distance on a boat somewhere, or you see them ashore when you guys stock up, but so you grew up very isolated from that part of life.
Right. So I really was not around kids, and the only adults were my parents and their friends that were sailing on the boats. That happened for many, many years. I was very, very sheltered.
Did you ever, with your siblings, did you ever play rough and one of them just went in the sea? Did anybody ever push somebody off the boat? And then you had to catch them,
Right, no. Not to that extreme, but we're sisters, right?
Right.
There's always bickering about silly little things, as you do at that age, and we're all living in a very small space.
Right.
So
3 sisters. If it was 3 boys, one of them for sure it would get thrown overboard.
Right.
By the way, that's a good movie, Overboard. That's a great. You ever see the movie, Kurt Russell?
Yeah. Many years ago. Yeah. Well,
great movie. Goldie Hawn.
Yeah.
She lost the memory and he made her a housewife. Oh, that's an amazing movie.
What was that, like 1990s or was it 80s? I can't remember.
I think late 80s. I want to say 87, 86.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so then what happens when does your family then decide, okay, well, we've had we need to go back living kind of normal life?
So as they were sailing around the world, they wanted to find a place to then build a home, because they'd sold up in the UK, and we sailed up and down the Caribbean for a very long time. We ended up in this beautiful island called Bequia in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So my parents fell in love. We knew a lot of the locals there, and we bought some land. My parents bought some land and then sailed around the world, kind of with the intention, if we find somewhere that's more beautiful than this place, we can always sell that land and move somewhere else.
Oh, that's nice.
But if we don't find anywhere after sailing around the world, we can come back to this place and build a house. And so after we finished sailing around the world, we then started to build a home as a family I was then about 14, 15 years old, and we started building this home. We were very heavily involved in the building. So my parents raised me to, do the carpentry, do the wood, put the roof on. We were always using a jigsaw, some kind of machine or tool to create something.
Wow. So they give you a lot of experience, not just different life experience, but also give you responsibility.
A lot of responsibility.
Well, obviously, even as a child, you were doing night watch. So that's so I'm guessing all the you and your siblings grew up to be very responsible people.
Right. I would say very when I wouldn't say that I'm book smart, but I would say that I'm very practical. And so if I had to fix something, I would somehow find a way to fix it, not really knowing how to, but I would find a way to fix that thing.
Right. Like a common sense and street smart. Well,
Yes.
I don't know if there's a thing called ocean smart, because you grew up on the ocean smart. Well, people wouldn't get it.
Ocean smart. Well, I guess you could say ocean smart. Yeah.
Knew
what you can do and what was really risky, and knew what not to do.
Right.
You never went on board. Like on a night watch, you would never leave the cockpit, which is the area that you sit in, without being strapped on to two different harnesses. Right. If we had to adjust the sails, we always had to be clipped on and never unclip both clips, because one gust of wind can make the boat move and you can fall overboard, and no one would know until the next person comes on watch. So things like that I learned very, very young.
That is crazy, really. Did you ever with the harness on, did they ever try to blow you off and you had to climb back on?
So if it's just really, really windy and we have to get the sail down very quickly, or, a strap has come loose or a rope breaks or something like that, and we have to go on deck and it's very rough, then you have to constantly hold on to the railings or the mast or something to get to that place. And you would always have to be clipped on.
Right.
Even when it was calm, my parents would make us all clip on.
Yeah, as a habit, kind of like seatbelt, Oh,
but it was a seatbelt.
Yeah. So, but did it ever the wind was so strong that you had to clip on, but it would throw you off if you didn't have it?
We were always inside. Thankfully, I never made it the other side of the rails.
Right. Because that would be tough to get back in, because you need to pull yourself back up, right?
Right. And my parents would also, play man overboard. One of it, we would throw a boy overboard, a fender, which is the big rubber things that you use on the side of the boat. So if you're mooring up in a marina, it stops the boat, touching the wood. So we call it fender. So we would throw a fender overboard, pretend it's one of us, who has this job, who has that role, who's turning the boat around, how do we get that person back on board? So we all had those roles and knew what to do if worst case scenario that happened.
I'm thinking I would like to go a step further and just throw one of the girls off and then help her get back on. That would be more exciting, wouldn't it? Just to throw her off. Like,
you wouldn't want to fall overboard. Like, we would have sharks following the boat.
Oh,
and
okay, right. I hadn't thought of that.
There's a lot of sharks, especially the Pacific Ocean, and you have to be careful. This one time, I'll tell you another story, is pretty exciting and a very clear memory that I will always remember. We're fishing and we have this big kind of fish, maybe 3 or 4 foot long, and I'm the one who was like reeling it in, and I'm clipped on, of course, but my dad says, okay, you go down into the water, climb all the way to the bottom by the ocean, and we're gonna pull the fish up, and I'm gonna pass it to him.
Mm-hmm.
And a big shark, a massive shark, just jumps out the water, grabs the fish, the whole fish, all the wire. It was probably this close to my leg. And I was maybe 11 at this time. And it happened so quickly, like half a second, boom. So my dad said after that moment, I will never, ever allow any of you girls to ever go that close to the water again. Right? Because we would catch fish and then we would throw the fish overboard. When once, the leftovers or whatever it was, we would throw it overboard. And so we would have the sharks that would follow us for over food. So they'd follow us days and days. And, we would have binoculars and we would see the fins following us, right? So we were very aware of, you don't want to fall overboard because we know that there are sharks around as well.
Right. Wow. That's wow. So you grew up with sharks all around you in a way.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So that's why. Okay. Now that explains why you never did the drills with throwing the girls overboard because my goodness.
Right. And don't get me wrong, I love sharks. I'm not afraid of sharks. I was raised swimming with sharks. We would snorkel.
Right.
Bigger ones you kind of probably want to not swim with, and you always want to make sure there's someone around you, and you're not bleeding or have something shiny on you.
Yeah.
But it's nothing to be afraid of. My parents always raised me, you see a shark, it's okay, it's not going to just attack you, right? Which is what I think the majority of the mind thinks that.
Well, but at the same time, you didn't go in the water, so it didn't test fate.
Right. Same time we didn't go in the water. Right.
Yeah, there's a healthy respect for what a shark is and what it can do, right? So you can like a shark, but at the same time, you're not like, oh, I'm gonna, go in the water and try to pet the shark. No, you might lose your arm. Don't do that.
Right. In the middle of the ocean, I wouldn't jump in and start swimming with the sharks. No. Definitely not.
I mean, do you know that show? I don't know if you ever show. There's a show used to call be on Discovery called Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe.
My gosh, so long ago too. I
yeah
remember.
He one time he had really like a lot of bad jobs, a lot of them dealing with poo and everything. But one time he was a shark suit tester. So there was like a suit made of armor, kind of like an old movable armor kind of thing, but it was like kind of thick like that, and then all over his body. And then he'd go in the water, go to the seafloor, and then they release some of the fish, and there'd be all blood everywhere, and the shark would come and bite him with the suit. But because this is a movable suit, he still has some bruises to this day because of that that experiment, And
I don't remember, but
you get paid very low for that job apparently, but you're risking your life in a way. It's crazy. So okay, let's move forward to when you're done with this. And then where's that island, by the way? Well, what location?
Beckway is just off St. Vincent. So you have St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So it's north of Grenada and sort of south of Barbados. So most people, or also south of St. Lucia. And so most people know St. Lucia or Grenada or Barbados. Most people have heard of those. So it's kind of in between all of those islands.
I don't think I know. Well, which area of the world is it?
The southern West Indies, the southern Caribbean.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So what's the nearest country there? Is it like, I want to say, is it Indonesia or something, or New Zealand? No, must be warmer. It's warmer than that, right?
So it's the Caribbean. It's the southern Caribbean.
Oh,
so it's on the Atlantic side.
Oh, right.
But it's closer to the equator, so it's very hot there.
Nice.
You got essentially on the equator.
Yeah. No, showing my poor geography of the islands here. But anyway, so, and how is life there? Like there's probably an adjustment living in the ocean for 10 years, and then you go there and you guys build a house and then you live there.
So my parents built this beautiful home that took another 10-15 years to build. And that's really where I called my home. That's really my first time. And yes, I was raised in the UK at very, very early ages, but that was the first time where I had local friends. I could go down, the street and hang out with some people. So that is essentially where I would call, my home. I felt like I had friends for the first time, or some form of a social life.
Mm-hmm. And you enjoyed it probably because it was probably a stark contrast to the way you grew up. So you probably appreciated it more too.
Right. I really appreciated it. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I didn't fully understand, I was, going back to when I was on the boat, my parents had really taught me to really appreciate everything that was happening. My parents taught me gratitude is everything. And even as I'm on deck, I would have the wind blowing on my face. And I was taught to appreciate that the energy. I would look at the stars every single night and think to myself, what is up there? Like, what is this world? I would have nothing but nature around me. So I was taught to really appreciate that, the nature, the sounds of the nature, right? The as we're sailing, the water crashing up on the boat. These are sounds that will always stay with me for my life. So it was difficult. There was a very difficult part of having that and then coming back to what we would maybe say is a more of a normal life, where there's lots of people. I went back to the UK to finish my studies, and by that time, my senses were so highly enhanced that when I was around people, I could feel the energy of people, or I would intuitively pick up what other people were feeling without speaking to them. And I had these voices in my head. At that time, I hadn't realized that I was a medium. And that came later on, but I knew that what I would be doing was working with the body in some way. I just hadn't figured that out. So when I was 16, 17 years old, I then flew to the UK and I started my journey in personal training, fitness.
But were your sisters also sensitive? Like, because you said you had a younger sister as well.
Yes.
So how old was she when she got on
She
the
was
boat?
3 years younger than me, so she started very, very young. So she wasn't
Wow.
involved in the night watches and things. She was just too young. And my mom had
At
to spend
first,
all
right?
the time
And
at
then
first.
wow. So she mostly grew up almost exclusively on the boat. Like all her memories are probably mostly just on the boat, early life.
So I feel like the younger you are, she won't remember things that I remember very clearly, like the experiences that I went through. She has her own experience.
Yeah.
So her experience, I'm sure, is very different to my experience, and same as my older sister.
Right. So, but I imagine that all of you are, because you lived in nature for so long, that you're more sensitive to when you get back to the real world. You're more sensitive to the energies that you can pick up. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and
Mm.
I think that it can affect you both ways. For me, I was very intuitive. I wanted to kind of explore this, and my friends are going to go out, and I'm kind of, I wanted to fit in.
Yeah.
Both of my sisters were very socially awkward, and found it a struggle to fit in.
Mm.
They were very, very quiet, whereas I found that maybe being the middle one, um, I was the lot more lively one.
Oh, I see. Okay. So yeah, it depends on the personality and how, I don't know, astrology. I don't know how you're born, maybe, because people are born different, you're different from day one. So anyway, so you Well, so what did you study then after you completed your all your the things you have to do, like A levels or whatever?
So again, I knew I wanted to work with
Yeah.
the body, and so I started with personal training, and then I did like sports therapy, and then I started to work more to be more called holistically, and to work with energy. So then I started training in like aromatherapy and holistic massage and therapy.
Mm. And then you, after you finished that, you did you just start practicing right away, basically?
I started practicing right away. My family were in Bequia in the Caribbean, and I wanted to get out of the UK as fast as I could. I
Why?
felt I did, it was just, I felt very depressed there actually. So I flew back to the Caribbean in Bequia, and I opened the first spa on the island. And then I was very fortunate because a lot of the very big mega yachts come into the island. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I'd only been on the island about a month. And at that time, the largest mega yacht in the world had come in, and they just needed a therapist. And so I came on the boat, the big mega yacht. And before I knew it, within the next 6 months, I had started being called onto many of the big mega yachts, and I had started traveling with the owners of these mega yachts.
So probably somebody, you don't have to say, but probably somebody rich and famous, or maybe just rich. And
Rich and famous.
right, and
Most very rich, but some are pretty famous.
and yeah, so then because of virtue of that, I guess if you get like powerful references, then you get a lot of those, more of those clients. So that's what you got, right?
Right. So
And
one client recommends you to their friends, and then before you know it, you're being called to work all over the world. And I had lots of contracts.
is there a difference between the rate you can charge them versus the regular folk? Like, because you're like, oh, well, they're rich. Like, I can charge a bit more.
Um, at this point, I think I started flying on, for example, private jets when I was about 18.
Mm-hmm.
And it was exciting. I was just like, wow, I'm going to work with this person. This person's very famous. And I get to travel to Australia, and I get to travel. So for me, I was not thinking about how much I can charge and,
Right.
what are the rates that you charge a celebrity. That was not on my mind. It was more the opportunity of, how big it was for me at that age. And wow, what an opportunity to now travel the world with the celebrities.
Because you were like this is like early 20s when this happens for you.
18, 19, 20. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So
Very, yeah.
so so through the years, then you grew your business because of the references you have are astounding. So then you just grow more and more of those clients. And but and did you really enjoy working in that kind of environment?
Um, so, as any, late teen would, yes, I did. I loved it. I was, flown with, again, very, very well-known actors and, musicians and
Anybody
very, very
want to
famous.
mention? Anybody want to mention, or well, better not?
So they probably don't have the best reputation right now, but my first client was the owner of Chelsea Football Club.
I think now, if I'm not mistaken, now he's a former owner of the Chelsea
Former
Football.
owner of Chelsea
Right.
Football Club. That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. Okay. And that's the most well known, I guess.
That was my very first. So then I continued to work with a lot of the Russian families. When I say families, they were all billionaires. So the wealthiest families in the world. And of course, when you are working with billionaires, they have guests, and the majority of their guests are very well-known celebrities, or very, very important people. So it got to a point, of course, that the first few years, it's very, very exciting. And I'm flying to all these beautiful places. I'm on massive private jets and staying in the most luxurious castles and mansions in the world. But it got to a point where I got burnt out, because the opposite of that is no relationship. You're not with friends. You don't see your family. You live in a suitcase. I never bothered to unpack my suitcase. And you're on call 24 hours a day with these clients. And so if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and they want therapy, because I was doing body work as well, you know, they call you up. You call everyone sir and madame in that environment. And you are essentially, you know, at their service, beck and call 24 hours a day. And so when you've done that for many years, I did that for 10 years, it got to a point where I had no interest. My interest was, well, is this person going to treat me nicely? You know, and
because some of them were not nice, huh? Some of them are really rude, I suppose.
Very rude. Some I've seen housekeepers, you know, I've seen 5-year-olds. Most of the clients that I would fly with were families, so they would have children. And, you know, for example, if we went to a beach with a family, you know, each child would have 2 bodyguards or a member of staff that will entertain them. So a family of 5 or a family of 6 would have 30 crew with them on the beach. So it was not realistic or normal in any way, because you would constantly have bodyguards next to you.
What does that mean, entertain them? Like, what would they do? Like read stories to them, or would they like I don't know, how would they entertain the family?
Well, you could say, you know, you have a member of staff, or you have a deckhand. So a deckhand can take you skiing and do water sports with you.
Yeah, okay.
Take you back and forth on the boat, you know, help you build sandcastles. They had very young kids. A lot of the families had young kids and older kids. And so it's essentially kind of like their babysitter / person that takes care of them and keeps them entertained all the time.
Right, like almost like a personal assistant too. Like they do stuff for them, they book everything, and wow, exactly. Like a high grade nanny in a way.
High grade nanny, like it does everything. Right. Just their job and role is to keep that child happy all the time.
But so a lot of the kids, I guess, were not appreciative of, because they grew up in that environment.
So, you know, I think sailing around the world, and, you know, sailing up the Red Sea, we would go ashore, and my parents had taught me what the reality of this world is, what is, you know, and how a normal person lives, not how we were living, but we would go ashore and, you know, people were starving. You would have kids with no clothes that were dirty. And, you know, my parents made a point of taking us to these places of extreme poverty to show us, look how lucky you are. And look how the majority of the world lives. And so having that perception and understanding of that. And then, for example, when I'm working with the wealthiest, I'm on this massive private jet, and we have 5 kids, and I'm sat next to the youngest kid, who was 5 at that time. And we're in this airport, and she shows me out the window, and she says, look at all those people going on that plane. It's so dirty. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, look at all those people. It's so dirty. And it was a commercial jet. And so there is no understanding of a reality in any way when you're working in this lifestyle.
He meant the plane was dirty, or actually the people were dirty?
Probably both in her mind. It was both. You know, it's
it's tough.
Money,
right? Especially if their parents don't teach them gratitude and all that, and kind of giving back. I always think it's a nice idea if you have rich kids to send them somewhere poor for a few months and let them slug it out. Maybe this will be a bit PTSD, but I don't know. Might give them some perspective, you know.
Oh, it's very important how you're raised to set you for the rest of your life. And so if you're always taught, you know, there's no value on money, and money will buy you happiness or buy you the biggest and most expensive or latest car. Okay, thanks, Dad. That there's no gratitude in any way or appreciation. It's more, I want more, I want more. Right? And so that was really essentially the reason why I said I can't work like this anymore.
Right. So you just left altogether, everything.
So I then I was 27 at this age, and then I came to work for the owner of the Redskins, which is an NFL team in the US in Washington, D.C. So I had a contract, which was then a land-based contract. And so I said, you know what, I'm tired of moving around. It was still working with celebrities, but I need to, I just need a base. I need to be able to have a friend or a relationship or something. And
right.
So I took this job, and that's how I came to the US.
And also then because you were in one place for a long time, then you found a relationship as well, I imagine.
And so unfortunately, I got into a terrible relationship, my first long-term relationship. And, you know, the security, the bodyguards that would patrol the property of my client said to me, you're 27, you've been here a year, and it's not healthy. You have to like meet a guy, or you have to have a boyfriend, or you have to, it's depressing us watching you.
The security said that. The security guys were saying that.
Guards said that. So
wow.
I said, well, how do I meet someone? I don't go to a bar, I don't drink. And they said, you need to go onto this app called Tinder. and I didn't know what it was, but I did. And then I met my
oh my gosh,
relationship, which turned out to be my first marriage.
Okay, let me just say that was a good diagnosis, but a bad prescription to me. To me, that's what it looks like. Yeah, Tinder is not the best place. But anyway, go on.
I had no idea.
Right.
Never really had a boyfriend before. And I was very naive.
Wait, none of the rich and famous people hit on you, but like when you were doing therapy or whatever, they were like, well, can I see you later? Or I don't know.
No? I mean, I took my work so seriously.
Right.
I had so much passion for what I was doing, and just this huge need to help someone. At that time, I just didn't understand, you know, how to develop that or what that really meant. I just knew that I really had to help people, and I was good at what I did. I was very good at what I did. And so when I met my first husband, I should say, off Tinder, I would say that is when my life changed. And I went through a very bad relationship that turned out to be something extremely beautiful.
Was he the first match you ever had, and then you went on a date and you married him, or did you have several and then you picked one? Just curious.
So I met a few different people.
Okay.
And I was just ready to stop traveling, and this person was a little wild, and I've never been with anyone that was a little wild, and so I had a lot of excitement. He was also 20 years older, and I felt I was very mature for my age, and I couldn't quite match with anyone that was my age, or I felt like I wasn't understood, maybe.
Yeah.
So this person was traveled as well, so there was different things that kind of had attracted me to this person.
Mm-hmm. And then what happened in the marriage?
So I was with this person for 3 years, and he was very abusive. And so we got married after the first year. And I, during that experience with him, I really witnessed a lot of emotional and physical abuse. And so at the end of the 3 years, I had broken ribs and a smashed shoulder blade. I had no family in the US. I didn't know anyone. All my friends were his friends. And so I, at the end of the relationship, knew that I had a choice. This person was going to, kill me. And I didn't realize this at the time, and I learned this after, because I asked myself, why did I go through this?
Yeah.
And I was not raised with a belief that there were bad people. I don't even like to use the word bad, but people out there that want to hurt people, or that have another intention other than wanting to help someone. Right. And so I went through a vicious kind of pattern with him, where I was an empath and I thought, oh my God, I can help this person. And of course he would hit me and then say, I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again. And then I'm like, okay, he's never going to do it again. I can help him. And so that continued for a number of years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Low boundaries, sounds like. No boundaries.
And I didn't know anything about abuse. I had never seen it. My parents we'd never learned it at school. And my parents I've never been around friends with parents that were divorced, or parents that have gone through, and I missed that social life out in my, my early teens, I just, or my just younger ages. So I didn't see relationships or friends relationships that had that kind of thing in it. So I didn't know about it. It was very naive.
I mean, you probably saw it in movies, but I think it's very different, or I read it in a book, but it's very different than actually experiencing somebody close to you going through that situation. Right? Because then you see, oh, this is real. Like, but if you just see somewhere far away, you're like, oh, well, it doesn't really concern me. So, okay. So, and then you got out of that marriage, and you were still working at the Redskins at that point, or you left the job?
I had left. I had left the job and started working for like the local sports team owners. So more kind of high profile clients, but I had my own home. I moved in with my ex. So I wasn't living with my clients for the first time in my life. I had my own place and I would travel to my clients' homes.
So you can now more dictate your terms at that point, where you were like, well, I'm not gonna see you at any time. Just my availability is from here to here, and I can do this, but I can't do. Don't call me at 2 a.m, please.
Exactly.
Right.
My terms. Finally, yeah.
That's awesome. And then, so after you stop working for the Redskins, is there anything else that you start developing? Like, is there a different interest? Because obviously you were probably like getting some education for the healing work you were doing, or were you, yeah.
So I had started to develop which is what I would call modunity now. So I had recognized that I have spirits speaking to me, or voices speaking to me, and I could hear them even just as I'm speaking to you now. I had started communicating with the spiritual world, and very slowly had started to develop my connection with, the spirits. There was a couple of things that really helped me get out of the relationship. So first of all, I was very curious about ayahuasca, the plant medicine.
Okay.
And I knew that if I had stayed in this relationship, I would be dead. I would not be here. And my body was so broken and so bruised. My heart was so crushed. And I felt this calling for this medicine. And, I asked the universe, I got on my hands and knees one day and I cried my eyes out and I said, I'm going to die. like, please help me. I have nothing left of me and I really need help. And the next day, a friend, finally, that was separate from my husband, I met some other friends out of his circle, and they said, we are hosting an ayahuasca retreat that weekend. And I said, I have to do this. This is what I have to do. And so I went to this ceremony, and as I drank the medicine, my intention was, please, I need to get out of this relationship. I need the strength to get out of this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so I worked with the plant medicine, and 3 months later, I had moved out of the relationship, got my own apartment, and I was learning how to heal. And that's where How to Heal started. But I had broken bones in my body, and I was in a lot of pain, to the point where, yes, I had managed to get my own apartment, but I was in so much pain. I was in and out of hospital, and the doctors, the spinal surgeons that were looking at my ribs and my smashed shoulder blade, had said to me that they are so badly smashed that it's not possible. We have to remove the rib, and we have to put a metal rib in. And that's really where my journey began of how to heal.
So you didn't want that, or did you end up getting that done, the metal rib?
First of all, I've never heard of someone putting a metal rib in. I mean, ribs are meant to move. And so the first thing that came to me was, I've always taught people how to heal their whole life, but I've never had to heal myself. And I don't know what that means. And second of all, metal in your body, what's that going to be like in winter? Am I going to be in pain? Am I going to do something that will create pain for the rest of my life? One thing I never questioned is if I could heal my body, because I had these voices in my head telling me, I've always helped other people heal. And I just knew in my heart, somehow I can heal my body.
And you did. Eventually, did you then heal your rib with just what you were learning from the intuitive process, that you're able to heal yourself?
So I went into a very deep meditative state of prayer. And I learned how to really connect with these voices in my head. And I asked, please, can you show me how I can heal my rib? How can I heal all the fractures? How can I put my shoulder blade back together? How can I make the impossible possible? Right. And we may call this a miracle. And this is what the spirits say, the humanity, we look at things as miracles. And it's not a miracle. It's the power of healing that is available to every single one of us on this planet. And so when they told me that, I just said, I'm ready. Teach me everything.
So they did. And what would you call was it an energy or a knowingness on the other side? What would you call that taught you how to heal?
A feeling that is so passionate in your heart, you don't question it. I knew, I didn't know how to, I didn't know the steps in between, but I just knew that I could do it. And that was the drive and the force that made me say, I'm at your service. Please teach me everything.
And they did teach you.
And so I started writing. I started closing my eyes and allowing them to come through me. And my hands would write these step-by-step things on how to heal. And there was a sequence of different things that I did every single day religiously. For example, the forgiveness work. I had to love the person that did this to me and understand that he come to the realization of taking out, how can you do this to me? You've hurt me, you broke my bones, you beat me up. And I had to change that mindset to, you're another brother on this planet, and I honor you, and I know that you treated me the best that you knew how. And I had to learn how to bring compassion to his story and his history and his experience, and see him as another being of light, or another brother, right? As we brothers and sisters, and say thank you for giving me this. I'm so grateful for this experience, because I realized that after this work, and it took a while to, of course, get there, but that was the very first part of my healing, was to forgive him. And that's when my burns really healed, my body healed.
Wow. Because I could say that still to this day, I might have a few resentments, but what you're saying is that those resentments are what's actually preventing you from healing more.
We cannot blame anyone for the things that have happened in our life.
Right.
Because we create the reality that we want to, our action creates another reaction. And so, I chose to be with this person, which ultimately, I chose that experience, which now I'm very, very grateful for, because I would not be doing the work that I do now without that experience. But I learned every single day, of course, I'm saying I forgive you, but I really didn't mean it. I was like, how dare you do this to me? And then they're like, no, you do it until you don't feel anything but love.
So what's the process to forgive for you?
There's two parts to forgiveness. And it really is the only way that you can heal previous incarnations and traumas or experience that are still somehow holding you back, both consciously or subconsciously in this life. We've all done things that we don't want to do. We've all done bad things, right? I don't even like to use the word bad, but we've all done terrible things before that we don't remember.
It's true. We've all done bad things. Okay, and go on.
And so, for an example, again, just kind of taking this into a different story of the forgiveness work. For example, my partner, my current partner, we're happily married. He's a medium also, and his sister is also a medium. His whole family come from mediums, and she had terrible luck in this life. She would start a job and just lose the job. She would always be falling out with people. The things that she wanted to make happen would never happen. So that's what we would call bad luck. So the constant things were happening in her life. And she went to see a shaman and said, I need help. And the shaman said to her, you hurt in your previous incarnation. You burnt down a village. And there are 3 of those members that are spirits that hold a lot of anger towards you and a lot of resentment. And those are the ones that are stopping everything that is happening that you want to make happen, that is not happening. It's those 3 spirits. And so you have to, even though you don't remember anything from your previous incarnation, you have to connect with those spirits. And you have to tell them, I am so sorry that I ever hurt you. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't mean to. And I ask you to please forgive me. And so we are forgiving, and we are asking to be forgiven. And so when you do this prayer, you are not only working with the things that you remember in this incarnation, but you are healing many cords of attachments of things that you've done in all of your previous lifetimes or incarnations. And so you are cutting yourself free from all these cords that are holding you back, subconsciously that we have no idea about. So the forgiveness work is very, very important for anyone's spiritual practice.
Would you say that's almost like karma, like what you came into the world, and with forgiveness, you're kind of learning the lessons of, well, forgiveness is one big lesson, I guess. So you're moving up on the scale of consciousness, as it were.
Right. So what are the things that hold us back? You know, if we fall out with someone, or we feel hurt, or someone's done something over to us, we tend to hold that, you know, that feeling of blame or anger, or maybe we don't feel loved by one of our parents or appreciated enough by our partner.
Right.
And so the forgiveness work turns those feelings of discomfort that create us to feel some form of pain into lightness. And so the key to healing is love. It's always love. And so the only way to transmute the pain, wherever it's coming from, is to bring love into it. And so the forgiveness allows that transmutation of love to happen.
Right. And so, and this is when you said before you started writing, so this is how the work How to Heal came about, right?
Yes.
And there was well, we spoke before, but there's a website, right, that you decided that because you got this information and there was more and more. So are you selling the book, or what's how are you bringing this to the world?
So I am the instrument for How to Heal. How to Heal is not something that has come from me. It is something that I have been asked to do and bring forth by the spirits of the light. And I recognize that my experience of learning how to heal my body, my bones healed very, very quickly. Within 3 weeks, my rib that had 20 different fractures had not only healed, but every single fracture had healed back into place. So wow. The impossible happened. And I just was, and they would teach me, this is available to every single one of us. And so for me, I was very honored, you know, teach me everything. Like, thank you so much for this opportunity to bring How to Heal. And so over last March, March of 2021, I had started the creation of How to Heal. And so in terms of the website, they asked me to buy howtoheal.com. And of course, I didn't quite understand what How to Heal was at that point.
Right.
But I was looking at the website and I don't know how to, you know, this website's worth 35,000 euro. And I don't have a business plan. I don't know what the creation is, but somehow they told me I have to find the person that owns this and I have to purchase this website.
Yeah. How do you find a person that owns a website? Like if you want to
Google.
Right.
Google.
Right.
I had no idea where to start. But I found a website called Sido, or Sido, and maybe I'm saying that wrong, where you can find where the websites are being sold. And so I contacted this person through this website to say, and I didn't know what to say. And so the spirits spoke through my body. I got my phone and I said, what do you want me to say to him? And I pressed record. And the spirits fully spoke through my body. And it went something like this. Beautiful, sacred, divine brother of the light, we are honored to speak to you through the vessel of Dani Mansfield. We are behind of this creation. We are so honored that you are the one that kept this creation for us for so long. And we ask if it is something deep inside of your heart that you would be willing to let go of, but to know that it is not coming through Dani, it's coming through us. So this recording was about 6 minutes. And of course, I think to myself, how can I send a message from the spirits to this person? At one point in this message, they said, we know that this has come as no surprise to you. And so something in my gut told me that he may be expecting some kind of message. I just didn't know how to.
Right.
So I wrote that message out and I said, from the spirits. And
it's not a voice message, so you sent it as a text, basically.
Because you could only send an email to start with, and then later I sent the voice message. But I translated their message into writing.
Right. Okay. So he got both versions, the text and then the voice version. Nice. And then what did he say?
He said, let me think about it. The website was very expensive, too expensive for me, and I did not have that money at the time. And something told me to write to him 7777. And I still didn't even have that to send to him. And I didn't think he would come down, so low. I had no expectation of this. And I was purely following the instructions that I was given.
Okay, you suggested $777 as a price.
$7,767.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. And he agreed.
And I had a friend, he said, yes, it's yours. And then I had a friend, I still didn't have that money at the time. And to spend again on something I didn't know what was forming. And so I had a friend come in and say, I'll give you the money. And 2 days later, the website was in my name.
Wow. So the website is basically this course that you got, and also the book is also in digital form on there, and basic courses on how to heal, if I'm understanding that.
Everything is still being created. So all the courses, as I am given the messages, I'm recording and slowly putting the recordings on and creating a school. And the book is still being written because there's still a lot of movement coming through.
Awesome. So, but people can still already go on the website howtoheal.com and start learning about healing, correct?
So the website is completely free.
Nice.
And it's very, very important that healing is accessible to every single person. And again, I am reminded all the time that this is not coming from me.
Right.
And to let go of any kind of ego or any identity of this creation. I am purely the medium. And so for an example, I will ask, what do you want me to teach today? And I will close my eyes and I will allow the spirits to work through my body. And I will open my eyes and there are 30, 40 pages written. And wow. I won't know what is on that paper until I read it myself.
So it's like they fully take control of your body.
They will fully come through my body. Wow. So there's many different ways that I channel, but I will fully incorporate or partially incorporate, or I will just channel and it will just come through.
That's amazing. And so, but when you do, let's say when you do work with people, do you get fully, because you said a medium, so you get fully immersed by a different is it a similar spirit that you work with when you try to heal people one-to-one?
So it depends whether I'm connecting with their spiritual guides or mine, right? But I can tell you the Galactic Federation of Light are the ones that are behind of this creation of how to heal.
Okay. And so that's basically an energy field. Is how would you describe the Galactic Federation of Light?
They are a frequency of light. That's what they tell me. We are a frequency of light. We communicate and speak to you through a frequency of light.
Cool.
They are on or come from, or the light is on a dimension that is nothing but pure light and pure love.
So, and you still do like person-to-person healing? So if somebody, say, that watches this wants to contact you, what kind of work do you do on a one-to-one basis?
So at the moment, I have stopped doing that because
Okay.
I'm solely focused on being the instrument and bringing forth this work. I realize this work is very important, and I
Right.
have a responsibility. So I call this a hibernation phase for me, where I stop everything that I do in my life to clean my body, to clean my instrument, to get into the right set and go into a deep meditative state of prayer and channeling, so that I can, my personal opinion or experience does not get in the way of what they are saying in any way. So it's purely being channeled. Every part of the school is being channeled. And so once this is completed, I will be offering the private sessions, and I offer many different kinds of things, but it's really now working as an instrument for them to help that person in the way that they need help.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you are now solely focusing on this, and are you like keep adding stuff to the website as you go along? Like every month, do you add stuff to howtoheal.com?
So I'm doing everything myself, and it's a lot of work.
Right.
Channeling, doing the content, uploading the courses, uploading the workshops, uploading the classes. It's a lot of work, so it's happening very slowly. But what I can tell you, since I started this work, my life has completely changed in every way imaginable. It's shifted into just new frequencies. So for example, I know the last time that we spoke, I had finished the training of deprogramming from human conditioning. So really the key to life, or the key to your happiness, is to be present, to let go of the things that are holding us back. And what are those things? A lot of those things are our belief systems. And so we have to understand that we have been conditioned our whole life.
Right.
How do we learn to deprogram from those conditioning or human programming systems? If we were, for example, we are taught in this day and age, right, we have to get really good grades, we have to have a really good job in order to be successful, we have to be very smart. If we are taught from a child, you can be anything you want to be. Whatever you do, you're going to be so successful. We have to unprogram ourselves from everything. But what if you could completely reprogram your belief systems so that you can create an abundant life of infinite possibilities? Anything that you want to, you can create the reality that you want to.
That sounds awesome.
And so I'm currently recording this part of the course. Once you deprogram, you have to reprogram. But what are you reprogramming your life to? And so since I started the deprogramming, I have now opened up multiple businesses, and moved into a home, moved into a new home, now have a recording studio. And this is all in a period of 4 or 5 months, very short period of time. My life has completely gone. I never would have imagined I would be here a year ago, but I know everything is because of this course.
And then if people do it by themselves, once you put all the material there, they can change, things will change for them in their life as well.
It will change for you. So you are doing the work yourself. We are only here to guide you. And so we show you the steps. And so when we ask you to do the forgiveness work, we can't do that for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's with anything, like we can give you the information, but actually you're doing it yourself. You're doing it yourself and allowing it.
Work yourself.
And allowing it, right?
Right. And your perception starts to change. You know, you start to question the things that you're doing. What are your habits? What are your patterns? What are your fears? What are the things that are holding you back that you don't know about? It starts to really open up your mind so that you can raise your vibration and start tapping into those truths so that you will see those shifts happening within you. So there is an integration, but there's a step-by-step integration. You know, how do you change your mind from hating someone, blaming someone, to loving them? There has to be a guide to get from here to here. And so that's what How to Heal teaches you. It's a sequence of steps that you must experience and integrate in your life and bring that into your practice so that you can grow and just become a better person each day, be a better person today than you were yesterday, and be a better, more loving and kinder person tomorrow than you are today.
Yeah, and that includes forgiving everyone. Like in the past, it was a lot of people hated Trump, and now it's Putin. I mean, you could argue that he was a bad guy, whatnot, but you know, you can still forgive, you know, and yeah, it's important, right? Forgiveness, like you said, is very, very important. Awesome. Well, this sounds like a good place to end, unless you want to add something.
I'm very grateful to be here. This is actually my first podcast, so I'm very grateful. I'm very excited also, and I really hope that you know, anyone that feels that they need help in some kind of area, How to Heal is completely free. It's accessible to you, and it's changed my life. And when something magical happens, you share that. And I know from this experience, if this is something that feels in alignment for you in the right time in your life, it will help you too.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Dani Mansfield, everybody. And thank you everybody for listening or watching the podcast. Ciao.